in the heart of the Middle East, an ancient kingdom ruled with unmatched power. But here's the twist: they don't teach you this in history books. These kings worshipped Hindu gods, spoke Sanskrit, and followed Vedic rituals. This wasn't just influence. This was Sanatan Dharma in Syria, Iraq, and Turkey. 3,500 years ago, the Mitani weren't foreigners copying India. They were a lost extension of the Vedic world. And if that's true, the entire history of the ancient world needs to be rewritten. In the heart of what we now call Syria, a powerful kingdom rose. But this was no ordinary ancient state. They trained horses using Sanskrit commands. They wrote treaties that invoked Indra, Mitra, Varuna, and the Ashwani Devtas. These were not borrowed influences. This was Vedic culture, fully embedded in their governance, rituals, and language. This wasn't Bharat, but it was entirely Sanatani. What you're about to see isn't speculation. These are facts carved into clay tablets. These are sealed documents, ancient names, and royal alliances, all pointing back to a single truth. Vedic civilization once extended far beyond the borders of India. This is the story of the Mitanni Kingdom, one of the most undeniable proofs of global Sanatani presence. Let's begin. The year is around 1500 BCE. The world is in middle of the Bronze Age, a time of massive transformation. Civilizations are rising, trade is booming, and writing systems are just beginning to take shape. And in the regions where modern-day Syria, southeastern Turkey, and northern Iraq meets, a powerful kingdom emerges. This was the Mitanni Kingdom. Strategically located, surrounded by hostile empires, the Hittites to the north, the Assyrians to the east, and the Egyptians to the south. The Mitani weren't just another tribal society trying to survive. They built a complex administration, maintained powerful armies, and most importantly, they thrived. But here's where it gets truly fascinating. At the core of this kingdom was Sanskrit. At the heart of its treaties were Vedic gods. The aristocracy of the Mitani didn't just borrow from the Vedic culture. They lived it, spoke it, swore upon it. And that makes this kingdom, thousands of kilometers away from Bharat, a crucial missing piece in our global Vedic puzzle. Now, let's get into the hard evidence. And we are not talking about interpretations or vague similarities. We are talking about ancient documents etched in clay that speak directly of the presence of Vedic culture in the Mitanni Kingdom. The first and most famous of them is Kikkuli Horse Training Manual, dated to the 14th century BC. This is the world's oldest surviving guide on how to train horses, especially for warfare and chariot racing. It was written in the local Aryan language, but here's the shocker. It was filled with Sanskrit terms. The numbers used in the training sequence are straight out of Sanskrit. Ek, 1, Triya, 3, Panch, 5, Sat, 7. Words like Tura for horse, Vana for circular motion, Babru for horse color. They don't just appear once. They are repeatedly used in a technical and instructional context. This is not cultural borrowing. This is cultural presence, the kind that comes only when the trainers, the administrators, and the kings all understood the language. Next, the war treaties. When Mitani signed peaceful agreements with the powerful neighbors, the Hittites, the Assyrians, and the Egyptians, they didn't just sign, they swore upon gods. And those gods were Indra, Mitra, Varuna, and Ashwani. These are not ornamental names. Each of these deities has deep contextual meaning. In Bharat, we still do it today. The Paramveer Chakra honors Indra, the god of war. The Indian Navy uses hymns invoking Varuna, the deity of oceans and order. ISRO's Aditya mission named after the Vedic solar deity. So just like in Bharat, the Mitani too called upon the right gods for the right occasions. This isn't cultural reference. This is cultural faith. Now let's move to the Amarna letters and the Bhogaskoi archives, the diplomatic correspondence between the Mitani and Egyptian kingdoms. From these letters, we learn the name of Mitani kings. Tushratha, which mirrors Twashtar Ratha, one who commands a divine chariot. Artatama, derived from Rita Dhamma, a person rooted in cosmic law and order. Their capital was called Wassukanni, which resonates with Vasudhara, the bearer of wealth. But it wasn't just about names. There were marriage alliances too. Mitanni princes like Gilukhipa and Tadukhipa were married to Egyptian pharaoh Amenhotep III. This marks the oldest recorded cultural and political alliance between a Vedic civilization and the Egyptian Empire. When you put all this together, the Sanskrit training manual, the Vedic gods and treaties, the royal names and intermarriages, one thing becomes clear. This was not migration. This was not influence. This was Sanatani heritage embedded into the very identity of the kingdom, thousands of kilometers from Bharat. For over a century, we were told a lie that Sanskrit came from Europe, that invaders brought Vedic culture into India. This was the Aryan invasion theory, created by colonial minds, accepted without questions, and taught in our history books. But here's the truth. Sanskrit didn't come to India. It spread from India. And the Mitanni Kingdom proves that. What we find in ancient Syria, Sanskrit terms, Vedic deities, and royal names with clear Sanatani roots that predates the so-called Aryan arrival in India by centuries. That means Sanskrit was already flourishing, not just inside Bharat, but far beyond it. And it wasn't because of invaders. It was Indians, Sanatanis, who migrated westwards, carrying their language, rituals, and gods across borders. We have seen this pattern before. In the Grand Canyon, sealed caves revealed Indian-styled statues and Sanskrit-like inscriptions. In Afghanistan, Vedic clans like the Pakta and Dhruyu settled after the Battle of 10 Kings as recorded in the Rig Veda. The Pashtuns of today trace their lineage to the same clans. In Persia, Vedic influence shows up in fire rituals and royal names like Darius and Xerxes, direct linguistic descendants of Sanskrit. Drinker in Turkey, a multi-level underground city built by Indo-European groups likely connected to Vedic migrants. And Lothal, the Harappan port from 2500 BCE, had global trade links with Mesopotamia and Egypt. Proof that India was exporting culture, not importing it. Our scriptures confirm this. The Rig Veda, Vishnu Puran, Bhavishya Puran describes the westward movements of Vedic clans. Dhruyu, Anu, Bhrigu, spreading dharma beyond Bharat. Even the Danvas, children of Danu, are linked to ancient European tribes. And to this day, Mother Danu is worshipped in Ireland Celtic culture. And we have talked about everything, each and every detail and all the proofs in our previous videos. And now, the final nail in the coffin. Mitani, 3,500 years ago, kings in Syria swore treaties upon Indra and Mitra. They trained horses using Sanskrit numbers. Their capital city echoed the Vedic goddesses of wealth, Vasudha. This wasn't fringe, and it wasn't coincidence. It was Sanatani civilization in action across empires. And here's the linguistic proof. The Sanskrit word Kshatriya, meaning protector of Dharma, became Shastra in Avestan, and later Shehenshah in Old Persian, king of kings. Even the name Xerxes, recorded by Greeks, trace back to Shastasha, derived from Shatra. This is not mythology. This is civilizational memory, etched into language, law, and legacy. From Sanskrit to Avestan, Avestan to Persian, Persian to global royal title. The language didn't come in. It went out. When decoded properly, not mistranslated or distorted, our scriptures give us the full map of this migration. From Bharat to Persia to Syria to the very edge of the ancient world. This is not just history carved into stone. This is dharma written across the world. In 2022 and 2023, extreme droughts in Iraq led to a remarkable discovery. More ruins of the Mitanni civilization, previously buried beneath the Tigris River. Among them, archaeologists unearthed new clay tablets, yet to be deciphered, and seals that strikingly resemble those from Indus Valley civilization. These discoveries suggest a cultural and possibly even administrative connection between the Mitanni and the Harappans. While mainstream historians hesitate to draw those links, the clues are getting harder to ignore. The story isn't over, because every time the earth cracks open in Syria or Iraq, we get one step closer to the truth. A truth buried for centuries. And soon, more Vedic truth may rise, carved not just in stones, but in undeniable history. The Mitanni Kingdom isn't just a case of Vedic influence. It is a direct evidence of Vedic root, deep in the heart of what is now Syria, Iraq, and Turkey. The same Sanatani system that guided kings in Bharat was guiding kings in Mitani. This is the story mainstream historians can't explain, but we can and we will, because this isn't mythology. This is Vedic history, real, raw, global, and waiting to be reclaimed. If this truth speaks to you, if you want more, then subscribe, because this is just the beginning of our journey to uncover the forgotten Sanatani empire that once ruled the ancient world. This is it from my side. Stay curious.